little sign of Christmas. He's getting the extra sniffs out because it'll be for a while till we come out again. It's forecasted to rain for the next 3 days. Cookie, get your sniff on. Let's go. It's the kind of weather where you need a sleeve for your cold drink. And you grip the hot drink. Hey friends, today I thought I would talk about my planner, my creative journaling planner for the year, which is the Take a Note planner. Although the stickers have completely hid the logo, but you can kind of see it here. And I thought this would also be a great opportunity for me to share my thoughts about the whole concept of creative journaling, why I do this, and how it had helped me, or why I enjoy keeping up with this habit all these years. So the Take a Note planner is actually a brand from Taiwan. I've been aware of it since 2015, or even a little bit before that, when the creator started sharing his or her design on a forum in Taiwan called PTT. And I believe the designer also started by using a Hobonichi and was inspired to make something a little different, a little bit more minimalistic and more functional for people who are looking to be more effective or productive during their work planning sessions. And when they first launched, they actually collaborated with National Taiwan University as sort of a school diary or a school planner, so that students can utilize the Take a Note planner in their daily school routines, classes, and for them to manage several projects and schoolwork. And when they launched in 2015, officially, they immediately won a Good Design Award in Japan, which is this really prestigious design award. And for a Taiwanese brand to win out against the other planners in Japan, it was a pretty huge deal back then. I actually started using the Take a Note planner back in 2017. I couldn't find it anymore, but I was able to dig out my 2019 one. And I had purchased them in the smaller form. This is what they call a mini back then, but I believe it's an A6 size. And I used it as a work planner. So you can kind of see here, really minimalistic, no frills, just work schedules, notes, things like that. In fact, this is sort of like a messier page about it. But the main layout, this, let me see if I can go to an empty page. The main layout of a Take a Note is it's 2 day per page kind of vertical bar. And it was very effective because, you have just enough of a day page to write down your schedule, meetings, notes, and it has these timeline as well that goes from 6 a.m. to like midnight. So it was very effective for people who are using it as a planner, as a work planner or a scheduler, because you can utilize it to track your days or notes or to-do lists for the day. And back here you can see how I really went just super functional. I think I even used just ballpoints and whatever pens that I could get my hands on to write with this. And it was a great supplement to my routine back then when I was working at the startup agency. So I really enjoyed using a Take a Note. And I think it was actually in 2020 that I started experimenting with the Take a Note as a creative journal. All these years I've been using a Hobonichi planner or Hobonichi journal, Techo, specifically the cousin size, and eventually I moved to the cousin avec because they were exploding. I've been using my Hobonichi cousin as a creative journal that filled the purpose of letting me document like my life as a one day, one page, and an all-in-one book system. But I was in a kind of, I guess, a very free state back then in 2020. This was when the pandemic hit. I was in between visas. I was waiting for my green card. And so, in a way, I had a lot of free time and really quite a lot of flexibility to explore my hobbies, which is stationery. So, I ended up getting a take a note in the A5 size as a supplement to my existing creative journal to see what else I can do with it. And I started it out as a Chinese journal because obviously in my Hobonichi I was journaling in English. I was using it to do like kind of daily highlights, but most importantly, I wanted to kind of reclaim my Chinese writing skills. So I was journaling in this smaller form factor, 2 days per page instead of 1 day, 1 page. Just allow me this opportunity to journal in Chinese. Kind of remember what I used to be able to write very fluently. But funnily, it fell off as one does when you juggle many planners and journals. And we're being very ambitious at the beginning of the year. Eventually, I moved it into sort of a scrapbooking style layout where I would just print out photos on my printer, just regular color printing, cut it out, stick it on, and really approach it in a more free way that actually became how I use it today. So you can see here, sometimes I journal in Chinese, sometimes I journal in English. I would decorate it with a lot of stickers, washi tape. Really, this became a playground for me outside of my existing creative journal, the Hobonichi, for me to explore and like have more opportunity to write about my life here. Sometimes the scrapbooking takes over completely, where it's just filled with photos and letting that do the heavy carry with my life's documentation. And then around March, April, during the heights of the pandemic, Animal Crossing became the thing that everyone did. It also became the purpose of this journal. I was using it to literally document little things about my island. I have this highlight of the week section, hilarious. And what's cool about the Take a Note planner is that it has these cool, aside from the 2 days, 1 page layout, it has a mini overview at the beginning of each week, which allows you to do some other sort of like note reminders, a weekly highlight situation, and I used it to document my bells, or are they bells? Turnips. my things in Animal Crossing. I had a lot of fun printing out a lot of photos, kind of turning this book into a media journal. I held a bachelorette party in my Animal Crossing island with my friends, and this became a really fun thing to do in my daily routine as well. And look at this, look how nerdy I was with writing about every little details about the island and the stories and the little adventures we had with our friends back then. It was just how much it consumed my life. And a little bit more here too. And it did drop off when my interest in Animal Crossing dropped off, as it does for everyone. I started my journaling in this book started to become a little sparse because I do have my main journal in the Hobonichi in my traveler's notebook. So this started to lose a little purpose until we adopted my dog, a golden doodle named Cookie, and then I started reusing this layout, this perfect hourly layout, to kind of keep track of Cookies as a puppy, his habits, his pooping schedule, eating schedule. Because as anyone would know who ever had a puppy, at the very beginning, especially when they're like the 8 weeks, 10 weeks, it's chaos and quite a lot of detailed things to be mindful of. So I was utilizing it to do all these sort of little tracking throughout the day. The hourly schedule really came in handy, and even though it's super minimalistic, it served an incredible function during that part of our life. And in fact, there was a point where my husband Elliot even helped write in it. So it was fun to finally like utilize to take a note in this interesting way. Fast forward to 2025 this year. 2024 was the last year I used my Hobonichi. I had put an end to that era. There's various reasons, but a major part is really about lifestyle change too, because I used to be able to fill one day, one page really confidently with my daily creative journaling. However, last year, 2024, I experienced quite a lot of travel and business trips, and that ended up leaving quite a lot of gaps in the Hobonichi cousin, and especially in that A5 form factor. When you start losing the days, it gets harder and harder to catch up because those gaping blank pages stare back at you. And although we always tell people who uses the Hobonichi to not worry about blank pages, it's still there. And for someone like me who had kept up with a journal so consistently in the past 9 to 10 years, it does weigh on me a little bit, not because of the obligation to show other people, but just simply an obligation for myself, because I felt like I was, because the space felt so big to fill, I was less motivated to write in it. And a great excuse is to start supporting someone, a company made in Taiwan, and you know kind of similar, akin to my identity here. So I went back into the take a note. Instead, from the Hobonichi Cousin Avec, I'm down to one single book, 365 days altogether. And that really reminded me of how I started journaling in the first place back in 2014 when I started with the A6 Hobonichi Techo. And so, what's great about moving into the take a note following my exit from Hobonichi is that it's still A5 size. It works perfectly with the Hobonichi covers, so I could still use a lot of my old covers that I purchased. It had always adopted the Tomoe River paper throughout its journey as well, with the Tomoe River paper degrading and all that stuff these past years. But in the past, I just loved that I could use my fountain pen inks on it. I could paint on it too. It's very resilient. And even though Tomoe River paper is now produced by Sanzen, Take a Note utilize its 68 GSM paper instead of the thinner one that Hobonichi uses. So in a way, I think it escaped the tragedy that Hobonichi paper went through in 2025 with the inconsistent bleed through, just by being slightly thicker. And I actually enjoy carrying it around in my plotter leather binder case, especially since it gets pretty chunky right now. This is a perfect little pouch that allows me to carry it around with me without worrying about the page opening up as it gets chunkier and chunkier throughout the year. Let me take you guys through a little flip through of my Take a Note this year. It's December now, and I've pretty much had a really happy year in this. The layout of the Take a Note is also very interesting. In a way, it's similar to the Hobonichi Cousin or the Hobonichi Techo, and in a way it isn't, because when the designers start designing the monthly layouts, the weekly look, productivity and project management is very top on their mind. So in an example of a monthly page, let me flip to an empty one, you would get these sort of weekly summary spaces where you can write about your week on this section. You can come down this way, and there's this notes pages, note space, and then there's also a little on the right side as well. And these all coordinates to specific pages of the book, so you can refer to it like a bullet journal. There's also page numbers down here. And then if you look at an empty page, an empty week, like I mentioned earlier, you get 2 days per page, 2 bars per page, and then you get this weekly overview section at the very beginning of each month. This little calendar highlights the week you're at. There's page numbers down here. The layout is very simple, very clean. And then you get the hourly section from 6 a.m. to, hey, oh wow, now it goes over down to even 3 a.m. So that's pretty cool. There's this very subtle lunch bar. I call it the lunch section that divides the morning from the afternoon. But I think the way they structured it really made it very intuitive, very easy to use. You can use it as a planner by utilizing the timeline, or you can just treat it as a journal block to do whatever you want in it. So since migrating from the Hobonichi, I have started treating the Take a Note as my main creative journaling um, format, main creative journaling vehicle. The layout is simple. There's no quotes or anything. Not that I hate the Hobonichi quotes, but it's just different. And hey, I get more space now in the more dialed back bar columns, right? And what I've learned mainly this year using the Take a Note is that even though I also still had a really busy year traveling and going everywhere, the bars are slimmer. It's half of an A5 page, and it actually ended up being easier to fill back in or catch up on if I needed to. And I love like all those little spaces that I mentioned that allows me to track different things or utilize it for different purposes. So for the first example, this front part, there's this yearly overview, and I used it as a tracker for yellow for going to the gym, purple for when I streamed on Twitch, and then these pink is the first half of the year where I was very filled with anxiety and calling my reps every day about all the horrible things that's going on in the United States. So there's a little bit of that. Dropped off a little bit because I was traveling most of these months, and now we're here. So a lot of fun spaces to utilize. And in this kind of another section of its yearly overview where it gives you one column per month and the days, I was using it to kind of like track highlights of my year, significant milestones or special trips, so that even without flipping through the contents of my journal, I can come here and be like, oh right, I went to Portland in March. I became a U.S. citizen on this day. I went to a No Kings protest in June. Things like that. I really enjoyed utilizing this space to mark my big milestones. And then for the monthly section, I was very greedy and I squeezed a lot of things into it. I used stamps to track days I went to the gym, little highlights, stats from my gym, like how much I ran, how much calories I burned, stuff like that. I also utilized the monthly spaces to write about Cookie symptoms, my dog Cookie, and whether he threw up this day or he had an accident in the room. On the left side, I actually implemented a fun little column that writes about Song of the Week, because I go through different songs in my playlist, and I thought it would be interesting to look back and reflect on, during this week or this month, I tend to listen to a lot of these songs, like they were like earworms in my head. So I was doing that a lot. I was documenting my own kind of health symptoms down here. And then also just decorating it with like a lot of fun ephemera on the side. In the back pages, these are the excess monthly pages. So you can see here, this is January 2026. And of course, I wasn't going to utilize them at all because I would have moved to the new book. I ended up using this as my currently inked page. So throughout the year, whatever ink I newly inked up my fountain pens with, I'll make a record here. So I remember which pen, which nib, which ink, and the fun swatch. And I actually thought I would do more, like at least go into the third month, but I guess I was lazy and didn't clean out about my pens. So it's okay. It's a reflection, snapshot of my life and my attitude. So that's totally fine. And then now to the actual creative journaling section. So I was actually away from my house across New Year's. I was in Seoul traveling, so I caught up when I came back to Seattle, but I did what I typically do in my Hobonichi, which is printing out photos, kind of collaging them magazine style, collaging style, and then I would write in the excess spaces. And typically when I'm on a trip, my stories get a little longer, so I was sort of not super following the exact days, like the column for that days, but making it more free form, treating it like a blank notebook essentially, and just seeing how I go from there. But I love how like the A5 size, this form factor allows me to tip in things that are bigger. Postcards, you'll see in a bit later. Postcards, bigger ephemeras, stickers, packaging. In a way, I kept the vehicle size, decreased my obligations in the space that I journal, and then it all started making sense and made it very easy to journal every day. On the weekly overview section of my take a note, I actually adopted a media log in which I keep track of which episode I was at for certain K-drama shows, what YouTube videos I was watching or consuming that day. I just think it's really interesting to see how my hobbies or my interest on the algorithm, on the YouTube algorithm, changes throughout the year. And then this kind of also helped me keep track of like how fast I consume a certain show or where was I on a certain volume of a manga, that kind of things. I enjoy journaling, sometimes just really playing with my fountain pen. I doodle a lot too. I like to draw little doodles of my dog. And I feel like it's a great balance, again, of how I creative journal, which is a mixture of doodle, a mixture of stationery ephemera, a mixture of tape, cards, washi tapes, stickers, fountain pen inks. And sometimes I even journal in Chinese as well. And what I love about treating this as a creative journal is that I'm not too bound by the bars. Sometimes if I want to cross the line, I feel like I can. Let me see if there's an example of that. Oh, like for this one. This is a cherry blossom spread I did close to my birthday, which is my favorite season. And instead of journaling about 2 days in its own separate bar, I just treat it as a whole page and wrote about the entire weekend pretty freely. I can doodle, I can add stickers, I can print out photos, and then this is essentially a nice and colorful snapshot of my life's adventure, one would say. Here I painted the duck. The sands in the Tomoe River paper sands and held up pretty good for me with the painting. It just wrinkles and crinkles a lot this year. I wonder if it'll be better next year, but we'll see. And here's another example of when I went on a trip. This was California pen show earlier this year. And if I run out of space to write, I just tip it in. If I want to put more photos down, because imagine comparing it to the old one day, one page with the Hobonichi cousin, I may be able to squeeze all these for one dedicated page, but now I'm like more, I need more space. So that's when the tip ins come in handy. And I could use postcards or special ephemera to create more space for me to either journal or to add photos. Here's a nice little photo print that my husband got from his friend. They took a photo of his car. I kept it, I tipped it in. I was using these himekuris that I enjoy. So allowing me to both enjoy my tapes, enjoy ephemera, stationery accessories, and having space to doodle and, write in whatever ink color I want. I just really enjoy the freedom of how I treat my creative journals. My friend Kelly sends me cards sometimes and I like to keep them in here. And yeah, once you approach this as a very laissez-faire, no stress habit, like think about it. Each day you just have to write this little paragraph about yourself or what happened during the day. Or even, if you end up doodling, if your doodle end up taking half of your day's space, it's even better. You get less space to write, and at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you end up with this huge accumulation. This was when I went to Chicago. I did a vlog, I think, about the trip, but I have excess photos. I slapped them all in. And again, my hierarchy with my journals is the creative journaling gets the best photos, the best experiences, the best moments I wanted to save. The rest goes to the traveler's notebook. Then the rest go to the other ones. So I saved the best for my take a note. And in a way, it's like if if there was a fire of emergency, this will be the first book I grab, because it holds the most of my honest feelings, my favorite memories, my favorite moments. For example, here was me trying to document what I did close to my birthday, where I went and had ice cream underneath the cherry blossoms. Things like this. And these would be things that, moments really. Like this one, for example, just a photo of my Trader Joe's bag against the fallen petals. These are all experiences that, in a way, you experience by yourself, for yourself. It's not, of course, you can share it on an Instagram story and have people like it and all that stuff, but really, this experience completes you as a person and makes you feel fulfilled and joy in those moments. And I think what's great about the creative journaling habit is that you get to memorialize it in a way by writing it down, by keeping it in here. And it's not fleeting anymore. Like 2 years down, like even now, a few months down, looking back at it, I get that same flutter of joy just remembering those moments. This is when I went to Houston for Little Craft Fest, a major big flip with postcards, utilizing fountain pen inks to journal, ephemeras from the trip, stickers that I purchased. And although 4 days feels like a lot, compressed into this spread, it just feels very satisfying. Some days I don't switch ink. I just write consistently throughout the whole week. Some days it's fun to switch inks, and then I would just utilize different mediums, different writing tools. And sometimes I would pick up old ephemera from my folders. I was like, yeah, what the heck, slap it in, even though it doesn't have anything to do with what happened that day. That's the joy of utilizing a creative journal. No matter if it's a take a note or if it's just an empty blank notebook, you are picking up pieces and bits of your life here and there and curating them for that specific moment, whether that aesthetics make you happy or that specific like stamp impression reminded you of something. They're all reasons to be stuck into a book or onto a page. And here I journaled again, regardless of the boundaries of the bars. I journaled about this meal, this amazing meal I had at Eden Hill, which unfortunately and sadly closed this year. There's so many great restaurants that I wish I documented more. Some days you just get these frustration pages, and that's totally okay. Here was a little snapshot of me going back to Japan for a work trip, and I was being a little bit more playing with the decoration, just really keeping it photo and text. And some days you just feel empty. This was towards the middle or the end of July where I got sick, but I was going on another trip again. I have no energy. So, I actually came back to this blank page and I was like, what the heck? I'll just draw something on it. So here it is, a little doodle here. So yeah, journaling, creative journaling, is not just an excuse for me to have fun with my stationery. It motivates me to collect junk in an ephemera. Like this is a label from a bag I purchased from Trader Joe's. It has this thank you card I got from a friend who stayed in my place. These little snippets of joy, once you have the intention of keeping them for your journal, which is what I always say, I want to save it for my journal, it makes you appreciate that moment more, if you know what I'm saying. So I think if you are or wanting to keep a creative journal, you'll start to feel like, you're being more conscious of what physical analog items are around you. You're more conscious about the scene, like in your environment, that you want to take a photo of with your phone, or a quote you overheard at a cafe that you want to collect and come back and write in your journals. It makes life a little bit more intentional, more fun, and kind of like doing side quests and like achieving little bonuses. It is like gamifying your life a little bit. And this year obviously has been pretty stressful for a lot of people, me included, for the state of the world as we slide into autocracy. Having this place here, this safe heaven for me to vent, to curse, to write down my frustrations, which is why I'm not flipping through all the pages for you guys. There's some really bad things in here. And then at the same time, you are reminded to write about something that gives you a lot of joy. It's a culmination of your emotions and your feelings throughout the year, and I just like that I took the time to document it, and it made me feel like the year did not fly away in vain, you know? Yeah, there were a few pages in there where I was just unpacking a lot of uncomfortable thoughts. No photos, no images, just writing, and that's okay too. This was when we were in Houston for Hello Houston event by Cute Things from Japan and Eric Small Things. I went and visited the Space Center at Houston, so I kept the little tickets. So treating it also like a traveler's journal in a way, traveler's notebook. And yeah, here's kind of some days where it was just writing, some doodles, little moments. For example, Cookie looking at a squirrel outside the window. Just things like this, you know? And in a way, I feel like in today's world, it's very easy to feel very helpless and irrelevant. But by keeping this creative journal, I feel like my stories and my experiences are captured, and are in some way made a mark in this universe. And I also treat it like I'm writing my own little fun storybook for the future me. This postcard or this photo I choose to take, this concert I choose to document, these are all little playful, fun, cynical, honest parts of me that I get to record and share potentially, or just the fact that I noted them down. I noticed them. Wow, and now it's like a mindfulness session. And writing about these like fun memories is fun. It's great. It makes you feel like you relive it again. Especially the ones where I journal about like my Japan trip. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm tasting that food I had. I got to see all those cool sights again. And some weeks they're a little plain, and that's when I just put down a lot of photos of my dog. Hey, sometimes your pet is the only thing that gives you joy in a week. Go for it. And then here's a more recent entry as well. Just lots of writing, lots of plain pages. And this is my most recent trip down to Portland, visiting my co-host, my Stationery Cafe podcast co-host Kelly, eating good food, writing about the experience. So yeah, back to the whole concept of creative journaling. My advice to people who wanted to start something like this, or you already are a journaler and you wanted to be more enthused and excited about journaling every day, I think there's a few tips on my end. One, don't feel like you are bound by a certain style or feel like you need to be consistent. I think that's the way social media trained us to be, because you needed to have a certain aesthetics on your feed. I felt free because each page, each week can have a different look, and that's totally okay. And in fact, I encourage people to copy and emulate things you liked that you saw. Like if this person that you scroll on your Instagram and have been doing the sepia look, go for it. Try it this on one page. And I saw the certain illustrator do this crazy style of art. I'm like, I'm trying that too. And I feel like having fun and experimenting every day in your creative journal essentially is giving yourself permission to have fun at the playground, playing with different kids every day and having different experiences. No rules. There's no rules. It's your journal, and it's the rule is to do it so you have fun. And finally, don't feel like you needed to share. I feel like these days social media can really grab and have a hold on you that's really unnecessary. In fact, I personally had a brief stint on TikTok, and then I found myself really hindered by always being mindful of the views and attention. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Shut it down real quick. I prefer to do creative projects and things that brings me joy, not anxiety. So yeah, a few final thoughts about creative journaling and the community. I've been creative journaling for a long time now, since 2014 or even earlier, when I used to use different like Rilakkuma journals and things. But since 2015 is when I really thrust myself into the midst of it, with a lot of people here on YouTube, with a lot of people on Instagram. We were just starting out sharing our pages, and we forged so many great connections, and built a lot of community. And then during the pandemic, right, that's when more people turned online, more people got into the analog hobby, and a lot of great things happened from there. I've seen scrapbooking style. We've seen the bullet journaling trend, from the minimalistic one to the colorful ones. There's the Traverse notebook hype always, the Hobonichi planners, sticker gate, and now junk journaling. It feels like we went through a lot together, and I'm always grateful for the people who watches my video, who are friends with me in real life, that I've made. I've never imagined, like, being able to be in a place where I boldly told my parents, like, oh yeah, no, I'm hanging out with my Instagram friend all around the world. And I think all of this, to the base, is just like we journal because we have a desire to document, to put pen to paper about our life, what we think is important to us. There's definitely some vanity moments there too, about like having that followership, having that views, which can lead to a sense of obligation or feeling like you're bound by certain styles. And I think it was finally these 2 years that I felt like I got free from it. In fact, I'm pretty jaded these days about social media, which is funny because I work in marketing, but the enshittification of all the apps, the greed from all these companies trying to just use you for their advertisement space. They try to suck you in so that they pull you away from real life engagements. There's a lot. And then obviously the AI shit show that's happening all over. This year I'm actually reluctant to share any of these spreads because I don't want to feed the slot machine. And in fact, it wasn't until now that I actually shared pages from my Take a Note with a lot of you guys so publicly. And in a way, there's something satisfying though about being able to do this just for the sake of joy and enjoying it, and not feel like I'm doing it for the clicks. So I hope a lot of you watching can feel that way, or if you're already on that way, awesome, like let's do this together for many years to come. And I'm pretty pleased and satisfied myself with my system, and I'm really proud of myself for having hold on to this habit of journaling for the past 12 years. And I think in a way I do have to thank Hobonichi though, because it was that structured format, that that one day one page kind of thing that I felt like I needed to complete, did build that habit slowly for me. So don't feel fret that you're like, oh, I can't keep up. I have been doing this for a long time. But moving forward, I'm really optimistic and excited for the Take a Note, because it's going to match my lifestyle pace much better. I can jet set to other places, not feel like I have a lot to catch up on. I can enter and like write immediately into one of my pages without feeling like the obligation to fill up a whole big space. I'm really excited, and we'll continue to use the Take a Note planner for next year. Finally, yeah, thank you for watching this video and hearing me talk and ramble on about my creative journaling process. I would love to hear your thought, like, about creative journaling. Why do you do it? When did you start? And finally, a little shout out to the OGs in the journaling community. I love you all. I'm so happy to have met you guys and be who I am today because of you guys. So if you think you're one of those OG journalers, drop a floppy disk emoji in chat. it nice to be out, Cookie? Oh, look at the clear skies. Oh, look, it's blue. Although it does seem like it's still raining in parts of Washington, so we're lucky. Very lucky. Cookie. Cooks. No, leave it.